First play of the game, we're going blind pig.
We're going to go blind pig.
Blind pig, yeah.
So I'm also a big fan of the blind pig action.
The only reason we're running this.
Hello and welcome to the Blind Pig podcast with me, Joe Honour. We're kicking off a really special series. I think everybody wants to work in British basketball, but we're not all as athletic as LeBron James or as tall as Victor Wembanyama. And so we have a really interesting opportunity tonight to talk to somebody who's actually working in British basketball. And I'm really excited to kick off the series with Joe Webster, who is the brand development manager for the Player Agency. And as someone who's actually been really wicked in opening a lot of doors for me and giving me a lot of advice, both kind of about what I'm doing and about more broad stuff. But Joe, welcome to the show, mate. How are you?
Brilliant. Thanks, Joe. It's really good to be here. And yeah, looking forward to our conversation.
Dude, this is going to be amazing. So for people, obviously, you're someone who is actually really involved in British basketball. Whenever I go on Instagram and I go to like something or reshare it, 9 times out of 10, I can guarantee you've got there before me. You must just be like basketball mad, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it helps sort of working in and around sport and also being able to, hop on Instagram at any point. It's good to see the content that people are creating. And I really enjoy getting involved with the different podcasts and commenting on different things just to keep that basketball conversation going.
Yeah, it's perfect, man. And that's what it needs. It needs that buzz, that conversation. And obviously you mentioned you're pretty fortunate to have a position inside of British basketball. So for someone listening, how would you describe, what is a brand development manager?
Basically, the role was created for me, and the idea behind it with the Player Agency was that we would have someone who didn't deal with the basketball contract side of things, but looked after the players throughout their career, looked at ways to build their off-court brands, looked for ways to help them as they move from a playing career to what was next, and also be around to use whatever skills I've picked up in industry to be able to deal with the issues and problems that they face and just give them advice and be someone to talk to. So my door's always open for my players.
A lot of players are really more focused on building their own personal brands. I think obviously the NIL stuff that's happening in the US has been a huge eye-opener in terms of, what can I earn and earning money earlier in their careers. I suppose when you're interacting with players, are they already thinking about, these are all the opportunities that I really want, or are they still kind of unsure about what opportunities are out there brand-wise?
Yes, we've got a bit of a mix in terms of the players. So we've got some players who approach me and they've already got ideas about what they want to do and how they want to use their position as a professional basketball player. It's not necessarily formed as a brand, but they know that they've got a voice and they want to use that voice. We've got other players who are just starting out, and it's really just trying to give them the pitfalls and just explain to them the types of things that people could ask them to do, and just look for ways to engage with them and just, as I said, break things down. There's a lot of this stuff is really around kind of what opportunities they have and opening those doors and making those opportunities a reality for them, whatever it might be.
And speaking of opportunities and opening doors, I suppose who opened the door for you? What led to your role, I suppose, inside of British basketball?
Yeah, no, so it was actually Tom Politti, who's the owner of the Player Agency, and it was through a podcast just like this, to be honest. I was listening to Drew and Jay podcast a couple of years ago, and just heard this agent talk about how he wanted to help shape British basketball, how he wanted to see top British talent coming home, how we wanted to make the opportunities here more attractive and to really raise the standard of the league. And this was a couple of years ago, so just as the BBL was going into a new era, and we all know what happened there, and then coming out of that and suddenly finding, okay, we've got a new SLB, we've got a new platform, and we've got to start again. And that was the time that I came into basketball. So I was about to launch the brand development on the old BBL scale. And by the time I came to market, we didn't know what was going on. It was that summer. It was quiet. We didn't know if players were going to have contracts or not. So I did a lot of research. I did a lot of work behind the scenes to build how I wanted to shape things going forwards and how I wanted to shape that role as brand development manager and what it really meant. And at that point, given there was no work and no potential players having contracts, it was all about the players and it was all about supporting the off-court side of things. So it was timing and it was the opportunity just to reach out to people who in British basketball are really open to talk. Didn't mean that every conversation you're going to have is going to go somewhere, but people are open to have a conversation and see whether you're somebody who'll fit and work with them and what you're going to bring to the table.
And that really resonates with me. I know when I interviewed G. Ali Davey, the author of the Charterton Oaks, one of the lines he said in there has really stuck with me about how like there's so much space in British basketball. And you're so right, like people are really open to a conversation and sharing knowledge. And I suppose I would say the majority of people are really open to that. You know, sometimes you get no replies, but a lot of good stuff.
And I think it's with those you've just got to keep going sometimes, like have those conversations, see what's happening. And sometimes the door will close, sometimes it will open. And yeah, it's led to some great opportunities and some interesting places to be.
Yeah. What would you say? Because obviously it's a really unique role, but like, what is the best moment that you've had kind of working in that sporting context and working so closely with players?
Yeah, so I mean, I tend to get alongside my players. I tend to grow relationships with them. So it's not always about a deal. It's not always about making some money or putting an opportunity before them. It's about understanding the player, understanding what makes them tick, and seeing where they want to go and how they want to get there, and just actually being able to support that journey rather than telling them what they should be doing. So I'll never tell someone what to do. I'll always be trying to support and enable them to do what they want to do. Yeah, I guess for me, it was the best moments are those that are created through seeing the players achieve something that they didn't think they could achieve. One of the areas that I've been desperately trying to work with is get a brand partnership with a clothing company. And for so long, we got frustrated by clothing companies who didn't want to offer players a fair deal, or we had clothing companies that wanted to take the whole of the brand and own it. So the player power had gone. And so I actually managed to get together with a couple of other like-minded people within British basketball to design and create our own clothing company. And it's completely player focused. It's called Triple Thread. There's 3 partners, and we're working to collaborate with players to give them the opportunity to create their own brand, create their own collections that resonate with themselves and stuff that they can get behind. And the results have been phenomenal. We've launched Gratitude with Prentice Nixon a few weeks ago, and we've had some great responses to that. And this week we've also launched a collection LR3 with LaQuincy Rideau. And as you're aware, that's quite a popular one. Certainly gets a lot of fans talking, both for and against. And we've enjoyed that kind of banter between the two. And having Prentice and LaQuincy as well, I mean, it's been great for the brand. They're always in the headlines, and they're always having a great rivalry. So it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
100%, man. And I think you've definitely chosen like the right people in terms of people who are really, actually like really open with fans as well in terms of connecting in. And this is my story and this is my journey.
Definitely, and it's going to become broader than that as well. So although we're starting with 2 big players in the SLB, we've got other players coming through, well-known players, but players who are performing at different times of their lives. And it's great to support those players. But it's also great to be part of the basketball community. So with Triple Thread, we're looking to enhance the basketball community as well. We're looking to see how we can level up the women's game and really make sure that actually we've got representation across British basketball, not just players, but content creators and players from lots of different leagues. So it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but I think we've got it in us, and I think we're going to do well.
That. And just touching on the hard work, I imagine that's something I've definitely felt like, I suppose just coming into the space more broadly, it's really open. There's a lot of chance to be able to kind of talk with people, but a lot of it is kind of your own hard graft, your own sort of self-esteem. Have you felt like that working in British basketball, or have you felt actually that there's been a change, I suppose, since 2 years ago from when you started stepping into the brand development stuff to kind of where we are now?
So I think with anything in sport, it's a slow grind. You've got to build people's trusts, and you've got to find the way that the different leagues and the clubs and everything else operate. So I was really fortunate as a Bristol Flyers fan first. I kind of came into basketball and was able to get close to Andreas Kapoulis, and some of the players at Bristol Flyers. And so that just allowed me to sort of test what I was thinking. So when I spoke to Tom Politti at the player agency, I then went and spoke to some of the guys at the Flyers just to say, hey, do you think there's a role here? Do you think there's something that's needed? If I was to do this, what would I do? And Tom also was able to introduce me to a few players so that we could get that sort of conversation going. Because again, there's no good me telling people what I think British basketball needs. I needed to know from the people within it to find out what was there. So there was a lot of listening. There was a lot of hours put in before anything was announced about what I was going to do. And I think the biggest thing with all of this is, basketball's got to be the passion first for you to succeed, because you've got to want to get involved. You can't expect just to do something really superficial or do something quick and get a quick result. You've got to get in there and really kind of understand your market and understand what drives people.
And can I ask, I know it's not a 9 to 5, but I suppose what does your 9 to 5 look like?
Yeah, so for me, it's slightly different. It's all about what time you have. So for me, I'm actually a lawyer by trade. So my 9 to 5 is very different. And just to say for my boss, I'm working very hard between 9 and 5. But when I can, and in my lunch breaks and in the evenings, it's really doing those different things. So players are great because you can speak to them most times. Their lives and their hours that they work are very different throughout the week. So it was making the most of meeting them in person whenever people came and played at the Flyers. It was making the most of conversations over WhatsApp, just talking to the players and being able to deal with things. But also then it's a lot of emails. It's a lot of trying to match people and find opportunities. A lot of it was done through email. A lot of it was done through Instagram. And it was about being genuine. Like you had to sit there and give them your credentials. You had to say why somebody should speak to you. I used my skills from being a lawyer in terms of thinking of the way to communicate and thinking of the things that they would want to hear and what would resonate with the person you're communicating, whether it was a player, whether it was a brand. You've got to understand what they want to hear. There's no good you just telling them what you want to say or what you're selling or what you're hoping to achieve. And then to me, it's all about a journey. So, there's no hard sell from the start. You want to show a range of opportunities, so I might go in really keen about one player, but actually, because a lot of brands won't have been involved in British basketball before, the power of the league is actually, if I can work for a player in every club, then, we can sit there and say we've got UK coverage and we've got players who work together. And that is one brilliant thing. I talked about Prentice and LaQuincy, they're rivals on the court, they're rival teams. We know, the beef between the teams, but they work together. And they'll work together for Triple Thread, they'll work together for other brands. And they've been so supportive around each other's collections and around the different opportunities they're doing. Because, I'm working with Prentice on one thing over here and with LaQuincy on other things. And in some ways, they're completely separate. But at the same time, it's, those opportunities come together and it's brilliant to see that.
And I'm interested as well in a little bit around the kind of the external part as well. So, like you say, there's a lot of space inside British basketball, and it's really positive to hear how people are collaborating and coming together. Interested how open external companies are when you talk about the potential to partner up with basketball players.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of kind of instantly people are kind of going, ooh, British basketball, is that something I want to be a part of, or do you get the same kind of openness, I suppose, when you go externally?
Let's be honest. My sales pattern changed quite considerably between BBL and SLB. we had a moment of quiet where we had to think what we were going to say because the way that those two leagues were approaching it were completely different. So with the SLB, we've wanted to actually talk about the stories of the athletes. And that's really powerful at the moment. And it's something that's seen across all the sports. So those stories are what drives brands to want to get involved. So finding the genuine connections and finding what brands want starts the process. The other thing is you're going in with a whole load of misconceptions. So they've been involved with sports, but they've had to pay a fortune to get into rugby or football. or they've been involved with influencers and content creators, and they've been promised loads of things, they've given free stuff or paid for things, and then the response hasn't been what they expected. The content creators have done what they said they'd do, but has it actually benefited the brands? So we have to show them that they can trust the basketball players. We have to show them that the basketball players will deliver. And a large part then of my job is actually ensuring that we've agreed what the players are going to do, and we're working together to show that, bringing in a basketball player is going to change your reach. It's going to bring you into a new community that they might not have access to before. But one of the things I've preferred doing at this stage, and it's very much where British basketball is actually we can support upcoming British industry and brands, whether it's clothing or energy drinks, whether it's protein, whether it's compression tops, all these things. There's people in the UK making this stuff. There's people in the UK creating new companies and new ways of working, and actually being able to get there at the start and build with the brand has been brilliant. So, that trusted relationship has been built quite quickly because they can see the power of the basketball player and the community it's opened them up to, and then they can work with that, and that is actually growing their business. And so they're looking, Can Energy is brilliant. One of our energy drink companies, they have, last season they took on 12 of our players after 2 or 3 of the players really did a good job. This season we've had slightly fewer players, but we're much more concentrated. And the opportunities that's presented, not only in providing the players with energy drinks that had no caffeine, no sugar, no calories, to providing opportunities for them to get into comms, to get into other PR with restaurants and other companies, has been brilliant. And it's just launched so many other avenues of conversation. It's kind of, you never quite know what you're going to get. But it's really about those players and that relationship that you can build with them every time.
So cool, man. Honestly, I can imagine, like, if someone at 16, 17 had come along to my classroom and, like, given me this talk, like, honestly, I would have been like, because in my head, I think loads of kids just think, oh, either I play basketball, or I don't do anything. And just hearing you talk about that, it's like, man, that is a legitimate like career path for someone, to go down that and to utilize their skills to connect people together and to make stories and to listen to stories. It's really good. If there was someone who was like sat in front of you who was 16, 17, they're considering a career in basketball, but not on the playing side, I suppose what is the advice that you would give to them?
Yeah, no, I think it's, think about what you can bring to British basketball. There's no point looking for a job because there's actually not that many formal roles. So for a lot of people, you've got to carve something out, something that you're passionate about, something that you can do. What we're seeing massively at the moment, and there's a huge market for photographers and videographers, and it's very much a young man's game. I'm 43 now, I think, 42, 43. Definitely not a young man, definitely not out on the course. But it's about using those skills that you have and just saying, I'm here, I can help with something. And then it's for the sport to see if they're going to use it. And I think it's the same with anyone looking at this as a business or as something that they're going to go into as a career, is very much about what are those skills you've had, and get some opportunities. There are so many clubs around the country to get involved with. They're open to uni students, they're open to sixth formers to get involved, whether it's volunteering, whether it's, as I said, content creating, whether it's helping manage the players, physios. Those roles are there, but there'll be some roles that we haven't even thought about that will be useful going forwards. And that at some point, basketball clubs will be like, well, why didn't we have that before? I think like the you think about like I'm not even going to be able to pronounce this right, but an analyst. How many teams now have somebody sitting there with a computer on the side, generally someone under 20, tapping away, getting the video feed up for coach to have a look at in halftime, pulling out the stats sheets, making sure that people know how many fouls are on. That's a role that was never there, but like most clubs are going to be, there without, they won't be without it anymore. So it's things like that. Just keep looking and keep getting involved. Don't stop playing. You can play at 20, 30, 40. There'll be somewhere for you to play.
You play at 43 as well, Joe. I'm still signing you up for the the first celebrity games that we have.
Yeah, that's it. No, it definitely can. So instead of playing quite so much, I've got a bit more involved in coaching and coaching my son's team. He's the reason I got back into basketball, and he's definitely surpassed me already. But I'm open to having a cameo every now and again. Not sure I'll do much, but I'm open to it.
I'd back you, mate. I'd back you 100%. Oh,
Yeah.
dude. Okay, I've got like a flip side. So obviously it can be really positive. Like there's lots of positive momentum, and I do like to take the positive angle most of the time in terms of I believe British basketball is trending upwards, but there are always going to be days that are like frustrating or difficult, or maybe you didn't get the deal that you wanted, or the person didn't reply.
Yeah.
I suppose what keeps you motivated though to keep wanting to stay in sport and keep being around basketball?
Yeah, I think because I chose to get involved, I have to keep reminding myself that I thought I wanted this. So that's number one. Number two for me really is around just seeing what the difference can make. The biggest differences I've had actually have been nothing to do with brand collaborations or making money for a basketball player, but actually being involved in other ways, doing something for them that nobody else is going to do. So I've been able to help somebody with an immigration problem that was through no fault of their own, and make sure that they got home and just give them the reassurance. I couldn't give any legal advice. I'm not qualified in that area, but I was able to give them the reassurance to know that it was going to be okay and there was a route through. You've got things like that. You've got, family situations for players. You've got injuries. Like, don't just drop a player when they're injured. The agent's responsibility is to make sure that that player gets the care they need to get them back on their feet. That might be during the contract they're already in, and the club's doing an amazing job of doing that. But what happens when a player goes out of contract? Who's going to pick up the tab for that recovery? Who is actually helping them get back and finding them another opportunity? And one of the things I've loved is, alongside the player agency, I haven't had to battle with that. I've been able to know that, I've worked with a player for 2 years. He's only played for 9 months of those 2 years. But we're still there as an agency supporting that player and making sure that they get the care that they need, and they are now playing again, which is fantastic. And long may that continue.
Dude, it's really refreshing talking to you, man. Honestly, you can tell that like you genuinely care about the people, and that is that's so important. Like it's easy, isn't it? I suppose to get caught up with it's an entertainment, but I think what you said there about people relating to them and like you say, when things are tough, why did I get into this in the first place? Okay, so for everyone out there who is listening to this, who might have more questions, I suppose what's the best way to kind of connect in with you?
So I think from the player agency side, it's definitely through Instagram's a good way. So at Joe Webster TPA, and I think that's probably the easiest way to connect. First off, any brands, my details are across all of my players' bios, so you can start to see who I represent. You'll probably see my name quite a bit. And yeah, just would love to hear from you. Would love to see how we can collaborate, what things we could do, whether it's with one player or lots of players. And, from a British basketball side of things, the more support we get with Triple Thread, the better, for the players, for the opportunities that it provides for them.
Sure, man. What we'll do is we'll drop all of Joe's details down in the YouTube comments below. So make sure you absolutely hit him with all of your questions. Because like I say, for me, I think we've chatted about everything from like streaming to like player rumors to all sorts of different stuff. So he really is a great source of knowledge. So if it's something you're thinking about, definitely tap into Joe. He's a wicked guy. Hopefully you enjoyed this first episode in the series, but we'll catch you at the next one. Peace.